In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to use the PowerBar stack. As you can see, I've already created a RapidWeaver project and the platform settings stack is already in place. Furthermore, you can see a few more stacks which I've put in for later so that we have something to scroll through. I'm now going to place the PowerBar stack on the page, close the library and open the inspector. Let's go through the most important settings in our inspector. First of all, we have the general section here, and the first setting we see is the menu orientation selection. Currently it is set to right. That means our main menu is positioned on the right hand side, and if I select left, it's going to swap places with the title and go to the left hand side. Next up is title pairing, which I'm going to demonstrate later on. This helps you to position the PowerBar stack in conjunction with the hero stack. Then we see the sticky option. This makes the PowerBar sticky. That means if you scroll below the top like this, it stays sticky and always will be visible. This is also something I'm going to demonstrate later. Then we have the drop shadows setting. This is already active. Like here, for example, we have the option to position the shadow to the right or to the left, or up or down. These fields also accept negative values. Then we can influence, for example, the blur as well as the spread. Now we're in the branding section already. You can turn branding off. That means the title, which you see was set to default, disappeared. And now it's going to come back. The title type is by standard set to site title, which is the general project setting inside RapidWeaver. I've earlier set this to the word default, but if you want to go and have your own title, you can select custom title and choose any text you like. Platform, for example. Then you can also select an individual color for your title, like from here, from the standard color selector. Then you can influence the title padding. You can have a padding at the top, at the bottom, left or the right. Currently we only have a padding to the left, as you can see here between the left hand side and the P. To the right we don't have any padding. This is interesting when you switch the places again, like before with the title to the right, and currently you see there is no padding between the title and the right hand border. So if I set this to 10 pixels, we have a nicer spacing here. Let's go back to the right menu orientation. Next, you can select your font family. By standard it is set to Helvetica. However, you can choose from any of this list. And if this is not enough for you, you can go to the custom option, and this opens these 3 additional entry fields where you can choose the font sets and style sets from the font and style stacks, or if you defined an individual CSS class, you can enter it here. Okay. Of course, you can also change the font size. Standard is 36, but you can, for example, add 48 and have a much larger font. Then you can influence the font weight. Depending on the font which you selected here in the font family, you can choose any of these font weights which are available in this drop-down. Next up is the text decoration, which is lines below, above and below, or through the text. Next is the text transformation. For example, if you want the entire title to be in uppercase, then select uppercase and it will change to what you see right now. Next up is the padding from the top. This is mostly to actually help you to align the title to your requirements. And if you have, like we will see now, a logo which throws the alignment out, you can correct everything here. Now let's turn on the with logo option. And as per default, the logo type is set to the RapidWeaver site logo, which you also set in the project settings of RapidWeaver. And as you see, you cannot see anything. This is because I have not put in a logo at this point, so there is nothing to be displayed. However, if you switch over to custom logo, there is an image well which opens, and as long as you do not put anything in there, you have a logo placeholder which helps you to get started with something which looks, at least from the dimensions, like the logo you are going to put in. So next up is the logo padding. By default there is no padding at all, but for example, if you want a spacing from the left, you put, or from the top in this case, you put in your figures, top, bottom, left, or even right on the right hand side, which actually increases the distance between your logo and the title. You could, for example, reduce the left hand padding of the title to 0 and still work with the logo padding at this point. The max height setting helps you to actually give a certain size to your logo. Currently it is set to 60 pixels, but for example you can set this to 100. And now you see that the logo is considerably bigger, and also that the alignment of the text and the logo is a little bit out of not centered, let's put it that way, and which can be now fixed by adjusting the padding from the top. For example, in this case, let's just set it to 40 and see what's going to happen. Yes, this sits nicely in the middle again. So you see how this works in conjunction with each other. Let's now look at the next options. Margin top is actually quite a cool feature. It also accepts negative values, and this way you can, for example, off-center your logo a little bit further to give it an extra effect. Like if I put this to 20, it will be off-centered by 20 out of the PowerBar. Additionally, you can work with custom width and custom height. Currently it is, and by standard, set to 60 pixels. And remember that the height is restricted by the max height, so right now we can only go to a maximum of 100 pixels. If we went beyond that, this will have no effect at all. If I say 120, there will be basically no other effect than having entered 100. And here I can also set 120, for example, and then we have countered the distortion in a way. So this gives you lots of options to actually work with your logo. Let's close this here, and you will see that it goes back to standard. Of course, influenced by the max height. If we go back to 60 here, we have our 60 pixels, including, of course, the padding. Now I'm taking away the padding from the top, and we have this back, and we go to 20 here, and everything is nice and centered again. Next up is the Breakpoints area. Everything which is larger than the figure given here is regarded as a desktop size, and we will see the desktop menu. Everything which is below that will display the mobile menu version. If you want, for example, to display the mobile menu version all the time, the trick would be to just enter a ridiculously high number of pixels here, and you will always see the mobile menu. Next up we have the colors. The main foreground color is what you see here in the main menu, the text color, but also in the sub-menu, the background, like here, like you see here. Next is the base color. The keyword normal means the background of the PowerBar itself, and dark is the offset color of the hover color. Next up is the shadow color for text, which we will see later, and for the box basically means what's the box shadow. If I go for example and set this to this pink here, you will see that our shadow has this interesting pink shade. You can also further influence it with opacity, so you have lots of possibilities to actually influence the looks of your PowerBar. Now we are entering the main menu section, meaning everything which influences the layout and design of this main menu part. Here you can select, of course, the font family as before. As per standard, it is set to Helvetica, but also you could, for example, choose Korea. Or, as before, you can go and customize it further by using the font and style stack and using these settings which are available from there. Okay, of course you can influence the font size. It is currently set to 18, but you could also go to say 28, and you see immediately that it is reflected in the menu. The sub-menu, which is indicated by the word small, can also be influenced. Currently it is set to 16 point, but if you wanted to go to 24, you can do that, and you will see that the font size is being reflected as well. Alright, let's go back to the standard settings, 18 and 16. Awesome. Like with the title, you can also choose different font weights as long as the font family provides it. You can change the text decoration, as you can see here, or even the text transformation. Like above, you can, for example, choose uppercase, and the entire menu text will be in uppercase letters. Like with the branding above, you can also influence the padding from the top if it's necessary, and you have also further settings which you can override should the need arise. Next interesting setting is the dividers. You can have these little dividers between the main menu items if you like them. Next up is the active item section. Here you can actually make the active menu item stand out. And first of all, you can set, for example, the underline option and influence the thickness of the underline and its color, of course. Then you can have different color for the item text and for the background. And lastly, you can influence the font style, as you can see here, to set it to, for example, italic and or bold italic. Now we come to the menu border section. You can have borders around the submenu. Currently it has a 1 pixel border. I can set this, for example, to 10 pixels so that we can see what it does. And we can also influence the radius of our, first of all, main menu box, meaning the entire power bar. If I set this, for example, to 25, you see that we have rounded corners around our power bar. But I can also influence the rounding of my submenu. For example, set this also to 25. And once I go to and open a submenu, you can see that there are also rounded corners here. Additionally, the area which is basically inverted, where you have your cursor pointing to, your mouse cursor, is also rounded. Alright. Lastly, we have the desktop menu section, where we can, for example, change the submenu indicator. This is this little triangle here. And as you can see, currently it is an off-white. And with a white as a background here, it is actually not visible in the standard. So let's change this quickly. And now it is set to a darker color, to a darker gray, which makes it visible in all other circumstances. There you see how this actually makes the usability quite a little bit better. Finally, we can actually influence the submenu offset, which means we can off-center it in the X and Y axis. This setting also accepts negative values, but let's just put in a 25 here, and you can see that the submenu, this is not this one, but this one here, is offset by 25 pixels to the left. And the same on the Y-axis, we can also put in 25 here, and if you remember where it was before, it is now 25 pixels lower. Alright, this concludes more or less the available options. I'm resetting most of the things now to our standard, because I want to show how this entire thing works in conjunction with the hero stack. Because what we saw earlier is we have this title pairing feature and the sticky feature. Okay, let's for now also turn off the drop shadow. Go back into the edit mode. Because of space reasons, I'm going to close the inspector as well. I'm opening the library. Now I'm going to scroll down to the hero. I have this here. Now with the hero, let's set this to a decent size and give it a background color, say primary. Okay, if you want to use the pairing feature, you have to put the power bar inside the hero stack, like this. And as long as you didn't turn on the title pairing, the power bar will be just that, inside the hero stack, like this. However, if I turn on the title pairing, currently it is set to above. As you can see, it is displayed above at the top of the hero stack. Alright, and now we have it below. And this is basically how the title pairing feature works. Now, additionally, if you turn on the sticky feature, the power bar will be sticky when you scroll. it looks like this. If I scroll upwards and we hit the top of the browser window, the sticky feature, makes the PowerBar stick to the top. If we go back and hit the top again, it scrolls back together with the hero stack, which is actually pretty cool. So now if we take it one step further and set the base color of the PowerBar stack to a little bit darker, and we give it some opacity, maybe with also a title color which stands out a little bit better. Let's just take white for this case. And we do the scrolling. You see that you can actually see through the PowerBar how the contents of the web page scrolls underneath. This basically concludes the video about the PowerBar. I hope I answered most of your questions. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.